When we are discussing evaluating and adjusting, we are discussing the plan participant's role in the mobile learning program, by how we're going to implement this in the schools and the districts, and how we are going to evaluate whether the plan is working. We like to, in our plan, call that how did we know we got there? Where do we want to go? So some of the things that I want to discuss in this portion of the presentation is establishing common language. And once we establish that common language, how do we know it's going to be working? I want to discuss how do we know we've moved from the traditional model into the digital age learning model. I want to discuss what and how the kids are going to be learning. Also, we will be discussing the digital environment, the high impact issues, medium and low, professional development, policies and processes. So first with common language, and I've left this screen up because this is the summary screen, but let's talk about our common language. So past educational influences. Today's students do not match today's teacher-centered educational environment, which is based on educational concepts from the 1890s and 1900s. In 1892, under the sponsorship of the National Education Association, the Committee of 10, composed of educators and chaired by Harvard's President Charles W. Eliot, examined a secondary school curriculum and defined college preparatory curriculum. The committee recommended that the teachings of subjects to meet these needs of the students going on to college and those who went into trades. The current structure of 8 years of primary education followed by 4 years of high school and the quantity of math, science, language arts, social studies required for graduation is still the standard today, was recommended at that time. So we want to discuss, when we talk about learning theory, we cannot discuss instructional processes in the K through 12 environment and current knowledge of how people learn without starting with Bloom's taxonomy from 1956. Specifically, educational organizations have connected with the cognitive portion of his map for how people learn. We want to move out of that, and we want to, influence his Bloom's taxonomy in the digital age of learning. So we want to create in our common language amongst all the stakeholders, common language when it comes to academic rigor, 21st century learning skills. We want to make sure that we are monitoring the critical thinking and problem solving, communication, collaboration, creativity, and innovation, the 4 C's. We will be constantly evaluating how the 4 C's are being influenced in the instructional practices of all of our educators. We want to make sure that the classrooms are moving into student-centered learning. All aspects of this plan should also be viewed through the lens of the student experiences. The activities that we're being is rich within the student-centered learning environment, and we want to make sure that that common language is known, and we will be evaluating as such. The 21st century learning, we want to make sure that the curriculums are more academically rigorous and has the more academically rigorous knowledge or skills students are expected to know. 21st century skill sets are making sure it's the forefront of the instructional process. We want to be evaluating the digital environment and how deep into the digital experience do we expect them to go. We will be measuring that. We'll be measuring that with data-driven experiences, delivery of methodologies, the activities by which students will gain or skill sets, and blended learning. Where and when will the students gain the skills and knowledge? the 21st century learning environment should be encompassed with all of that, and we'll be making sure that our evaluation process is always keeping those things in the forefront of our mind. Data-driven learning means the teacher needs to know what their students do and what their students do not know, and how they are going to go from that. Within the data-driven experience environment, the teacher must align the experience to the curriculum, align the experience with the student's readiness, ensure that the learning experience also contains formative assessment, and use the formative assessment to ascertain it using differentiation. Intervention, review, and advanced activities for gifted and talented is absolutely needed. The formative assessments are also used by data teams and instructional leaders to assess effectiveness and efficient delivery methods and tools, making informed decisions based on data. The delivery methodologies mean the student experiences will be a mix of discussion, hand-on projects, collaboration projects, virtual field trips, multimedia projects, teaching students individualized learning, connecting to experts and other learners in real time via technology, and one-to-many presentations. Blended learning means that the student experience should be enabled to occur at a variety of locations on scheduled or unscheduled basis. Those experiences should be differentiated. They could be web-based. They could occur on or off campus. They could be synchronous or asynchronous, occurring whenever the student needs the knowledge or skill. And technology is used like the old number 2 pencil of old, available when and where you need it. There's a definite sequence to this process. The items of the above, the items that we talked about in our 4C plan of action earlier, we want to make sure that that is an ongoing assessments throughout this plan of process. Differentiated learning flushes out the concept that every person does not learn at the same pace or in the same way. A truly differentiated learning environment enables students to learn the same content at a different pace, using different student experiences dependent on their learning preference or learning in small groups or individually. We will make sure that that is at the forefront of our evaluation process as well. Vision for learning. The first best practice we will review does not originate in the field of education. It actually comes from manufacturing and is primary component of total quality management, or TQM, called aligning the organization. The concept is that the organization, from the executive level down to the lowest level of the organization, talks about and views the primary function of the organization in the same way. An adaptation of the modern TQM in organization management processes suggests as a first step that we need to create a mission statement which aligns the entire educational organization and has a rubric, a set of rules or behaviors used by the teacher on a daily basis to inform them if their activities align with organization's mission statement. So our first line of defense is to make sure that our mission statement is communicated and that our mission statement is aligned with all activities. In our evaluation process through this planning period, we'll always go back to that to make sure we're all on the same page. The equity of access. When the district discusses the use of digital learning or digital content, we must ask what percentage of our students has access to the content on a regular basis. Use that question in order to make sure that the equity of access is moving towards full equitability. Data-driven student learning. The media generation population and unfortunately the various states departments of education in the United States determine school district success based on annual summative assessments. The type of data has limited value in the classroom. The annual student achievement test occurs months, and in case of pre-K through second grade, years after the student activity where the student is supposed to gain knowledge or skills being measured. By the time the school district knows something is not working, the annual test, it is much too late to address the issue. So we want to make sure that our formative assessments take place during a learning activity and it was constant and concurrent so that we can always have data that is aligned to the curriculum and that it allows us to formulate a plan before it is too late. So once again, differentiated learning concept model being fully developed when the district has consistent information concerning how each and every student learns, and we will do that through the data that is collected on a daily basis. When we talk about the digital environment, we want to make sure that we consider that the new curriculum expects technology to be embedded in student experiences and teachers consistently use formative assessments. The digital environment is critical to the student learning. There is a major concept we need to explore regarding quantity of student computing devices, which has a huge impact on the digital environment. Most of the readers or the board can assume that we must move to a one-to-one student computing device ratio to create a digital learning environment, but that's not necessarily true. There's a major difference between creating a digital learning environment versus creating a digital content environment, eliminating textbooks. There are a large number of student experiences which do not require the use of technology, implying every student does not require a computing device every minute they are in the classroom. We can create a very productive and engaging digital learning environment where each student has access to technology when and where they need it to accomplish specific instructional activities without moving to a one-to-one device-to-student ratio. Once the district reaches a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 students for every computing device, they should have a sufficient number of student computing devices to meet all of the digital learning activities. Introducing that quantity of devices into the classroom will also address changes in the textbook publishing industry, paper textbooks being replaced with digital content. The board should note that lower grade level classrooms are by nature more small group and project based than middle school and high school classrooms, not requiring access to technology every minute of the classroom day. For an example, we have 4 elementary classrooms within 18 students in each classroom. We provide 5 student devices in each classroom, enabling small group collaborative activities, or 5 students to work individually with digital content. We have another 15 devices on a small cart shared amongst those 4 teachers. The concept of the 2-to-1 ratio being adequate will work for any grade level as long as the teachers use project-based interdisciplinary instructional delivery program, which we will have as far as our evaluation process. Again, we have high impact issues, medium impact issues, and low impact issues, which in the board plan you will see how we have infrastructure that and how we plan to develop a plan of action in a timeline to meet those needs. We really want to have a teacher accountability, and the district assesses and holds their teachers accountable for development of their proficiencies in 21st century learning and technology. Literacy reflects their organizational culture. On one hand, some successful districts create a process which creates a sequential diagnostic assessment, then others do not. We would have a systematic sequential diagnostic assessment through using surveys and such. I want to thank the board for allowing me to come to you today with this presentation. You will have a paper, you will have a hard copy so that you all can look through it and go through this with a fine-tooth comb. We hope that any questions that you would have, that you can talk with any of the planning participants to answer any of those questions. And again, we thank the board. We thank you for allowing us to show you the pathway to investing in our students so that they can meet the needs of the vision statement.